the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Your team. You're the expert
I'll
in the
have
Joe
to
T
get
family.
extra of that.
Where are we going next, sir?
Well, let's keep doing this organically. So we went DJU. So let's go to Oregon State, where DJU came from. Well, not Oregon State necessarily, where the people that came from Oregon State. You pronounce it Chiles?
Yeah, is it Aidan Chiles? I think that's what it is, right?
I actually didn't know that. So Aidan Chiles, Jonathan Smith, both moved from Oregon State to Michigan State. This is an absolute needle mover, sir.
There you go.
For no other reason than I cannot really think of too many examples of a head coach, of a quarterback and a head coach moving together. I thought of Shedeur Sanders going to Colorado. I thought of Caleb Williams going to USC along with Lincoln Riley, and not putting Shedeur Sanders on Heisman Trophy winners level, but both of those have been a huge success. And I would say they were both needle movers for their new destination. And Jonathan Smith, I think, is one of the best like young coaches in the game right now. And it just feels like if he knows, like we obviously have a limited sample size of what Chiles did at Oregon State, but it feels like he knows it's like a known commodity for this guy, and he's bringing him with him to Michigan State. I think that just speaks volumes to me that he's going to be the guy at Michigan State immediately.
I love that comparison of like, it usually works, especially with offensive minds, like the Lincoln Riley stuff. If they're going to bring you and they're going to make it a priority to bring you along and they want you to come follow them to their next school, that's a good place to be. It's like, I mean, you didn't throw out Michael Penix, but like Kalen DeBoer coached him at Indiana. So he knew what he had in Michael Penix. So that obviously, like offensive minded guys, when they know what they have with somebody, it's the proof is in the pudding there a little bit. So I do think that's a big one. He hasn't played a lot of football, obviously, because he was behind DJU this past year, but he was the highest rated quarterback recruit in Oregon State history when he came in. So that was a big get for Jonathan Smith when he took that job. But it's also like I think year one, and this is something that Hendon Hooker obviously burst on the scene a little bit with Heupel. But when you're in year one at some of these stops, you have an opportunity where Big Ten schools, I think they don't have a lot of stuff on Jonathan Smith's style. It's going to be a little bit of he's going to sneak up on some teams. He's going to have an opportunity to just kind of, hey, y'all don't have high expectations for what we're doing. You didn't watch my games at Oregon State last year. The players in the Big Ten might not respect Michigan State going into the year. And then I think Jonathan Smith is going to catch some eyeballs because I do think his offense is going to perform really well in East Lansing. And I think it was one of the better hires of this cycle and one of the easiest ways to build some momentum. Like, I'm not saying Michigan State's going to the playoff year one with Aidan, but I do think he's a needle mover in the sense that, like, it's been really rough for Michigan State the last few years now, Matt Green. And Aidan brings all kinds of confidence here. And Chris Solari, who covers them and has been on this podcast, he said, quote, Michigan State football quarterback Aidan Chiles already showing swagger in California cool early here in spring practice. 247. I was going through like some of these guys 247 profiles when they were coming out of high school, especially the older guys, see like how much things have changed and this, that, and the other. But they had put Chiles put up big numbers as a senior and can stress a defense with his arm and legs. He has an easy delivery and the ball jumps out of his hand. So it's a different kind of quarterback than what we've seen at Michigan State too. There's so many Connor Cooks, that Kirk Cousins, the Jeff Smoker over the years. So I think there's going to be some fun aspect to.
Hey, you put some respect on Michigan. They're low key quarterback man. They had like a decade plus straight of every quarterback they had going pro. Like
true.
The Drew Stantons, the Connor Cooks, Kirk Cousins, like you said, like they low key had a bunch.
Yeah. And I just think Jonathan Smith is going to coach him up, and I think he's going to burst on the scene. I think he's going to catch a lot of people by surprise because I don't think a lot of guys are going to circle Michigan State early on their schedule of like, this is going to be, we got to be up for this game, and defenses are going to be ready to go. They're going to be dialed in, but I think Aidan and Jonathan are going to put them on notice and surprise some folks. I would buy a lot of Michigan State Aidan Chiles stock going into this year. So I would agree with you, sir. Needle mover indeed.
Last 6 years, Michigan State has lost 6 or more games 4 times. And one of the they didn't was COVID when they went 2-5. And so that would have been an even worse year. So other than that one year, 2021, where they pop up and went 11-2, yeah, it's been a bad going on over a half decade, or almost going on a decade now for Michigan State.
Where do you want to go next, sir?
Let's see. I don't have a logical. Let's see. Yeah. Well. Last thing I'll say. You know what? Oregon State's on like third, fourth game of the season. They do play Oregon, so we're gonna see that one earlier in the season next year. So I'm gonna be excited for that. But keeping it moving. Let's stay at Oregon. Dillion Gabriel going from Oklahoma to the Oregon Ducks. This is a tougher one because obviously this program, it's going to take a lot to move the needle for what Oregon is. So is Dillion Gabriel a needle mover?
No, he's not. I'm seeing some Heisman buzz for Dillion Gabriel out of the gate. I'm seeing some Oregon playoff potential national champion. They're going to be in the blue chip ratio, I think.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.